If you are a big soccer fan and you've been watching soccer for years, then you know about all the news that's been going around European soccer in the past few days, and with the formation of the European Super League. A lot of impacts, a lot of controversy around this, and a lot of talk over the last few days. Now, to discuss this, when I talk football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, there is no other person I'd rather talk to than my man. He is a soccer expert for the BBC and Bein Sports, Sulaiman Folarin, Sly, also known by me in that way. What's going on, man? How you doing? Thanks for joining me.
Not much, Dexter. Thanks for having me. It's interesting. The European Super League has been something that should have come out long before now. But it's perfect timing because this is a ripple effect of the pandemic. Look at it as a lot of the top clubs, after losing so much money in the last year and a half, no ticket sales, no gates, no money coming in from food, drinks, and etc. around the games, if it's scarves, jerseys, etc. So this is perfect timing for the big boys. Now, let's backtrack a little bit.
Yes.
The reason why this is this way is because the big boys, and they are the big boys for a reason, the Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester City, you name them. They bring in the largest share of money into European football. European Champions League was expanded to be able to accommodate more big names. It used to be 8 clubs back in the day, and it was champions of their leagues. Now the bigger boys said, hey, listen, we want more slots. So we, the big boys, the 5 big leagues in England, France, Germany, Spain, Italy, we want more slots to be able to play in the Champions League proper. So some of them get 3, some of them get 4 slots. And that happened as that because they figured as the big names, we deserve these more slots. The smaller clubs felt they were left out. They were not obviously doing as big as the big names, but they were left out. Now, when the time came around for UEFA to disperse all the money, they're not giving it to the clubs. They give it to the associations in those countries. So
right.
The association will now divvy the money up. Now, if PSG wins Champions League, they'll get their amount for winning Champions League. But a club in their league might get a percentage, get something that comes in from UEFA. Those big clubs don't want that. They want to be the ones commanding and controlling the big money. Let's fast forward a little bit. A few years ago, when Michel Platini ran for president of UEFA, one of his platforms was he was going to empower the smaller clubs, the smaller nations. So you had Poland and Ukraine host the Euros. So he came in under that reform mindset where he was going to allow those small clubs, so those small countries, to have some form of say. The big boys don't want that. La Liga is a perfect example. Before this current contract that La Liga is on with Media Pro and Bein Sports, the contracts they had before, Barcelona and Real Madrid got the largest share of the money. Everybody else, Villarreal, Valencia, Sevilla, Real Betis, Atletico Madrid, they all got very little money. Who's the chairman of the ESL, the European Super League? The chairman of Real Madrid. His mindset is we need to get more money. He doesn't care about the small clubs because in this country they never cared about the small clubs. Now you bring that full circle with the whole pandemic and the loss of money. The big clubs have this mindset that they lost more. Forgetting that a lot of the small clubs actually went into what we call administration, which means a lot of them can't operate. A lot of clubs literally had to close their doors. A lot of clubs had to shut their doors down because because you can't go to the bank you have no collateral to really get a loan. So the big boys, this is all money grabbing, for lack of a better term. This is them, and this is perfect timing for them. Because of the pandemic, they can come out and this was enticing to the other clubs because now you have JP Morgan involved, you have all these American businesses involved, and it's guaranteed money. It's a win-win situation for them, but they did not anticipate the backlash, and it's a serious backlash that's going on right now.
Okay, Sulaiman, so I wanted to look and just break down the European Super League and everything that happened. So, this European Super League was designed to rival the UEFA Champions League, which is one of the biggest tournaments in the world, bigger than the World Cup. And this Super League is 12 of Europe's wealthiest teams, top teams, that are signed to form this new league, and it's been backed, as you mentioned, by $6 billion in debt financing from JP Morgan And there's been a lot of different reactions to this. Some of the biggest teams, you got Liverpool in here, Man City, Manchester United, Barcelona, Real Madrid, all the big boys are in here. Now, when this news broke earlier this week, there's been a lot of different reactions to it, but I want to get what you thought about this. What was your reaction to the European Super League forming? Is it good or is it bad for the sport of soccer?
I'm looking at it from two perspectives, from a journalist perspective and from a fan's perspective. From a fan's perspective, fans will follow the action. This is great. This is competitive action. This is moving things around. This is shaking, the status quo, moving things around. But from a journalist perspective, I asked the question, if they start, what's the ripple effect? What's the domino effect? Everybody else can come around and say they want to create their own Super League. Just like the way you have with conferences in the U.S. A team would leave and say, I want to go to that other conference. I want to go to this other league. There's no structure. That's where the issue is. It's everybody just following the money. In the case of on the international stage, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of these people didn't really factor in America, in American sports, like the NFL, the clubs, the teams own the league. The NFL commissioner reports to the owners. In the case of football, the owners of those clubs, the league doesn't report to them. The association doesn't report to them. They report to UEFA or whoever the confederation is and to FIFA. So there's so many layers, and then those governing bodies in Europe and overseas have more bite, and their bark holds more weight in comparison to the US. So, and then there's been this thing brandished around that the Glazers and some of the other American owners can't conceptualize, they can't grasp their mind around the whole relegation process, why we have to relegate teams. Well, because relegation doesn't work in America doesn't mean that's how we do it elsewhere. So they want to be in a league where there's no relegation. It's parity. You're not losing anything. If you don't play well, it's fine. You still get your money, you guaranteed. Now, like I said, there's a backlash to that. Those teams, anybody can move. All of a sudden, Dexter and I can come together and say, okay, we want to form our own league. Now we want to grab PSG from that league. We want to grab Man United from the ESL. We want to grab Man City and move teams around. So there's no consistency.
Right. One of the things, Sly, when we've seen people protest against this, we've seen protests already against this. Fans outside certain stadiums have been putting up signs. People have been reacting. From what you're saying, from the American sports model, and I understand what you're saying, people are saying, well, hey, why isn't this way? A lot of American sports fans haven't understood relegation. But in the world stage, in terms of football, this is how it goes. You are rewarded for performing well over a certain period of time. This is the way things go.
It's not participation.
It's not a participation trophy that we like to see here sometimes in America. The soccer fan worldwide, outside of the United States, from what I've seen overwhelmingly, they are not happy about this at all. Even fans of some of these bigger teams, Manchester United, Liverpool, etc., they're not happy about this at all. Were you shocked at the fan backlash that you've seen here?
Not at all. There's unification around when rich white men are trying to get more money. That's life. There's always going to be unification around rich white men trying to get more money. So nobody should be surprised that you had protests at Ellen Road. There's one going on right now at Chelsea. You should not be surprised at all. That's fans. But now, mind you, fans outside of those countries don't have any skin in the game. If Chelsea decides to leave and Man City decides to leave, and you're a Chelsea fan living in America or in Lagos, Nigeria, or in Mumbai, you're going to find a way to watch Chelsea and Manchester City. It's the people in those countries that will unify and say, hey, we don't want our club to be a part of this, because everybody has a different value system. And that's just the reality of it.
Let's talk about that. Before we hopped on to talk about this, you broke some news to me in that Chelsea FC, they are looking to leave the Super League. There were talks of some teams that were not going to stay in this after all this backlash, and now we're finding out that Chelsea is looking to leave.
I just got another message that crossed. Chelsea is working on documentation right now to leave this ESL. They're trying to get out. Manchester City might withdraw as well.
That's very.
That just crossed on my other phone. Manchester City might pull out as well. So this is all internal. I'm part of a group, so this is internal information that's coming to us. Manchester City, and I said it, if Manchester City and Chelsea pull out, this is a done deal. This thing is dead in the waters before it even progresses.
So you're saying that this is dead. One of the other issues that I think fans have with this, beside all the other ones we talked about, Sulaiman, is that this was a situation where there were going to be 15 teams in the league and they were going to have automatic spots and they could not be relegated. There would only be 5 moving spots in the Super League. So this completely was going against the standard European football model and not caring about relegation or performance at all.
It's pure greed.
It does seem about pure greed. I'm going to be on my Lester Freeman from The Wire right here, and we're going to still follow the money. This is all about greed. Would you also say this is about bringing Western capitalism into European sports and the most popular sport in the world?
Totally.
And the people have spoken and saying, no, we don't want this.
Totally. And I said to somebody earlier today, I said, the moment this actually cracks the foundation of soccer, it will permeate into other sports. What stops tennis from coming and saying, hey, WTA, ATP, deuces, we're going to form our own league. I need to pull Serena, Venus, this other person, da-da-da-da, and this will... What stops them? What stops that from happening? Now, JP Morgan is looking at it from a business perspective. They don't care about soccer. They don't care about the sport. I bet you the people who sat down and even drafted this have no knowledge how soccer operates. So not that it's anything against them, but that's just the reality of it. These people are looking at it from a perspective of financial gain. If we give these clubs this money and we know that it's popular, and some of it is because of, you remember the International Champions Cup that was brought here by Relevant Sport? They kept on bringing all these European clubs over here to play like preseason tournaments and what have not. So those guys saw the money. They filled out the Blue House in Michigan. They filled out a bunch of stadiums. And these are meaningless matches. Man United played Real Madrid in Michigan. I was there in 2014. And for a practice training session, both clubs, we had about 30,000 fans in the stands. 30,000 fans come watch practice. So these people have seen the money. They've seen what can be done. But the reality is they never anticipated. They probably didn't care about the backlash because there was something that was said by one of the board members of one of the clubs that our primary focus is to maximize profit and revenue. Our secondary is growing the game.
Here's the thing then Sulaiman. I would think that someone like JP Morgan Chase putting debt financing of $6 billion for these teams to spread out and use among themselves, you would think they would do a little bit of the research and see what the temperature of the soccer viewing public, particularly the diehard fans, would be on this before they made such an investment. And now you're telling me that this investment could be dead in the water before it even got started.
I have to run in a little bit, but I'll tell you this. You're looking at it specifically emotionally. They're looking at it specifically financially.
That is true. So let me, before we get you out of here, you looked at the response from UEFA and FIFA. They talked about how they would probably stop some players from being able to even play in international competition, which nobody wants because that would cheapen the World Cup and other competitions of that nature. 2-part question. Did you like the response from UEFA and FIFA here strongly? And now that this appears to be dead in the water, what are the conversations we are going to have around money in terms of sports in general, even beyond football, and just control and players' rights and freedoms and leagues? And where do you think this decision and what's happening with the Super League will take us going forward?
We'll see. I can't really, no one can see the future, but I tell you this right now, it's interesting to hear what UEFA and FIFA had to say on this issue when they never said anything definitively like this about racism. But when something affects you in your pocket and your bottom line, you definitely will speak up, especially if it shakes your structure. We'll see you speak up. But yeah, we can't really foresee the future. We can't tell where it's going to go, but we just have to be on the lookout and see. Hopefully this doesn't come through because, like I said, from a journalistic perspective, I'm looking at it in terms of the purity of the sport. Sport has been around for about 150 years professionally, and these people just come around and just see the money, and that's all they care about.
That's a great point about UEFA and FIFA making statements so quickly on this, but not speaking out as loudly and quickly against racism. That's my man, Sulaiman Folarin. You can catch him on BBC Sports. You can also catch him on Bein Sports. He is one of the best football experts out there that I know. Please go check out his work. Sulaiman, thank you for joining me and talking to me about everything that's going on with the Super League. We got to have you back on to talk some more soccer sometime soon.
Thanks a lot, man. You're too kind.